one thing, when Kim called me and said, I got Live coming into town, I'm like, they have a new album. I said, the first thing I said to her was like, didn't they just have an album out? I mean, I remember when Mental Jewelry came out.
Yeah.
It wasn't too long ago, as far as albums are concerned, or is it? What do you think?
Well, it's going to be 2 years, 2 years and a couple months since it came out, actually. So I mean, it felt long to us. We wanted to have one out maybe a little earlier, but it just didn't happen that way.
What was it about? I mean, was it just like creative juices flowing? You said,
yeah, it took us a while to adjust to being on the road, and once we got off the road, we were just kind of like, we just took time off and just vegetated for about 6 months, and then we started, getting back into writing.
And now you have Throwing Copper.
Yeah.
Can you talk about let's say your feelings behind the album? Every time a band has a new record out, certain emotions, feelings surrounding it. What are you guys at right now?
It's Throwing Copper is it's a new step musically for us. Lyrically, Ed will tell you that, and it's just we wanted to make the album's more like some of the lyric context is more like hometown York. We wanted to show a side of the band that people I don't think have seen, and that is that we're like 4 people. I mean, Mental Jewelry is like the lyrics were really heavy, and everyone seems to think that we're really serious guys, and we are about our music, but just as people, we're just like everyone else. We wanted to kind of bring that out with this album.
The lyrics are still pretty strong and heavy on this record as well.
Yeah.
Do you ever say to Ed, what are you thinking? What are you talking about here?
No, I've never had any problems with what Ed writes about. And usually I don't even know what he's saying until it's written down. All I ever listen to is the melodies that he's singing, and I love them. And so I'm not really concerned with what he's saying, but, after when they're written down, I read them. I'm like, wow, that's cool. I never had any problems with it.
You bring out a great point, because I had to listen to the album like a couple times to get a couple of things, what the songs were saying, and I guess sometimes it's actually really good, so everyone can get whatever they want from it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you feel that way, or?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I think our band does really well is we convey what Ed's feeling through the lyrics through our instruments. And then we seem to have, to me, I think we have, some kind of uncanny ability to convey his feelings through our instruments, so.
For people who didn't have a chance to hear Mental Jewelry, and let's say they're going to get this album, Throwing Copper, because they hear a track they really dig, what's the growth factor from your debut? I mean, how do you think this one is?
Well, Mental Jewelry, all the songs were really kind of in your face. We wrote them that way because we were trying to get a record deal. We wanted people to pay attention to us. This album still has some of that, but it also has another side to us, the more gentle side. And another big factor is Ed, picked up an electric guitar and started playing, and we have a lot more guitar on this album.
Well, you should be happy. There's as far as the songs go, is almost all of them kind of have the arrangements where they build.
Yeah, well, we like to do that. Yeah.
Can you touch on that, because that's something I like in a song, in a band in general, and you seem to really do it a lot.
Yeah.
I always thought, okay, maybe this is going to be the mellower track, and then, within a minute, you guys are rocking.
I mean, I guess that can get repetitive after a while, but we just like the feeling that it gives, cause it's kind of quiet and a nice little melody's going on, and so you just shock them, hit them with this big chorus.
What about as far as the single? I think they were releasing Selling the Dharma.
Yeah, we just shot a video for that.
Can you talk about, without going so much into lyrics, because I know that is Ed's forte, can you talk a little bit about the song, maybe how it came together in the studio, writing it?
That song came together rather quickly. We were doing some pre-production with Jerry Harrison, our producer, and he was in town. We were working on other songs that we had already written, and Ed just came in with the verse idea for that, and it just started to click, and it just came together in about an hour. That song came together.
And what about as far as hearing it, yourselves? Because, I mean, was it the type of thing that you said it clicked within an hour? I mean, how does it work with the band and the creative process?
Well, Ed or Chad will come in with like, you know, maybe a guitar part, like a verse. Sometimes Ed comes in with a melody and a verse, and we'll just start playing it. The band will start playing it, and then we'll just play it up to where there should be a chorus, and then sometimes the chorus will just come just like right like that, you know, like everyone will click and just go to this thing, and it's cool. And sometimes you have to kind of work on it and sit back and figure out some chords. And selling drama was kind of, it just, when it came to where the chorus was supposed to be, it just came out that way.
What about the video? I mean, how are they going to do the video? Is it going to be like a live performance? You know?
There's performance, and the video is, it's going to be pretty surreal. We got Kevin Kerslake to do it, and the video doesn't really have a theme, because we didn't. I mean, if you put we thought if you put a theme to selling the drum, it could come off the wrong way. So it's just, you know, a really beautiful video, a lot of beautiful photography and a lot of beautiful colors and stuff. So
I talked to a lot of bands that, you know, talk about the videos being the necessary evil.
Mm-hmm.
I've also talked to a few that enjoy making them.
We don't mind making the videos. I mean, one of our objectives is to have, you know, as many people hear our band as possible. So if videos is the way to do that, then, I mean, you know, you have some objections in the fact that you're putting, you know, a visual to a thing that doesn't really have a visual, you know, it's all sound. But I mean, I think if it's done well and you have, you know, beautiful things happening on the screen, I think it's cool, you know.
What about musically? For instance, you just said something about, like, yeah, you'd like everybody to hear your music, and, you know, when a group like you comes out, they don't know where to put you. They put you towards college or rock, or what are your thoughts on that? Because it's somewhat difficult.
Yeah, I don't think anyone likes to be labeled, and I just, when people ask me what we sound like, people that haven't heard us, I just, you know, the simplest thing for me to say is, you know, listen to it, because I really can't explain it myself. I can't tell you what it sounds like. I mean, it's just us, you know.
No, it makes sense. What about as far as, you know, I mean, unfortunately, you've been, you know, since you've had hits at college radio, they kind of labeled you as a college rock band. However, I mean, I program some pop shows, and if you want to look at the most added songs this week to radio, I'd say half of them are quote unquote alternative bands. That's
where it's all changed in the last couple of years. It's gone from, I mean, like, the alternative stations have become the big commercial stations, it seems like now, you know, they are really particular about their formats and all that stuff, whereas before it seemed like they were willing to play any new thing that came out, kind of like college radio. But I think it's becoming more corporate, which is, it's good for bands like us and, you know, alternative music, but it kind of gets bad where all the corporate money starts getting involved, you know, that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, harping on the fact that you might, I mean, there's a good chance now. I mean, you know, I listen to your music and I'm like, well, I can easily see it being played on, you know, on stations that will play Nirvana, Pearl Jam, or anybody. I hate to say REM. I know you guys are just like nonstop compared to them. What do you think the band's feeling as a whole is that? Because
our feeling is, I mean, you know, we're not going to have any problems with, if we become successful, I don't think we're going to have too many problems with it, as long as, I mean, we're going to try to keep ourselves, you know, down to earth, if that happens. I mean, we would kind of like that to happen, you know. That's one of the things that we're kind of working for, is to have longevity in this, and, you know, being successful is a part of having longevity in the music business. So we would like, you know, I mean, I would like nothing more than to be able to do this, you know, for as long as I can, and not have to do anything else. So I think all of us are like that. I mean, we like to branch out in other things, but this be the main thing that we do, not have to have a job or whatever.
So true. Isn't it great? You know, waking up, what do you got to do? Practice.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible, because, I mean, especially when you're on tour and you're riding around on the bus with you know, 3 of your best friends, and you're playing music together, which you love to do. It's just incredible. I just have to stop and say sometimes, this is my job, you know, that's cool.
Without getting, you don't have to tell me the exact story behind a song, because it's very difficult with some of your songs.
Right.
But Selling the Drama is the single. So can you just tell me your thoughts on Selling the Drama? Just, it doesn't even have to be lyrically, but, you know, your take on the actual track, story behind it.
The music came really naturally. It was really easy to write, And the lyrics were sort of began as something that I didn't think related to me in my life in particular. It was sort of about the world at large and the state of the leader and lead and in general. And then after it was recorded, I sort of realized that it could apply to what we do as well, which is sort of like a public speaking of sorts, but yet it just feels really good, but yet we should probably say something constructive to people, but yet not really sure how or why or what we're doing at times. So that's sort of what it's about.
Is that your take on lyrics in general?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is it's fun, and it's so much fun sometimes. It's like you don't really want to think about the implications of what you do or say, but then sometimes you do think about them, but sometimes you don't, and that's both attitudes exist in the record.
And yet,
fuck it.
Chad brought up a really nice point. That sometimes you'll come up with some lyrics, and the band somehow, maybe it's because you guys all know each other so well, but the band musically might even convey what you're saying without maybe even knowing what you're saying. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think of the lyrics. I think of the lyrics as sort of like something on their own. That people see, it just all depends on how you listen to it. I think of my voice as my instrument, but not necessarily my lyrics as my instrument. So like when we write music, I'm thinking sound and melody, and lyrics oftentimes come way after the song's written.
Let me ask about, I had fun, saying that played live tracks in the studio. I just figured this would happen earlier. How did it come about? How did it affect the music on this record? Because I don't think you did it on your debut.
We did actually, on the debut of Mental Jewelry, we did actually cut the tracks live, but what happened was we got so involved with overdubs that it kind of lost the feeling. So this album, we made sure that we cut all the tracks, completely live and kept it that way. So we were really being careful on our performances and, trying to get it right.
Was it an easier record this time around? I mean, I've talked to a lot of people. They say, records like this, click, go, and I've also heard the exact opposite words.
The record was at times hard to conceive. Like, it was the songs were hard to conceive sometimes. To record it was really easy, effortless. The songs, once they come, are fine and effortless, and they usually happen on their own. It's just sort of waiting around for it to happen that can get frustrating.
Well, you said effortless to record it, and one thing that I got from listening to the record, and I listened to it a couple of times, is that you guys sound really tight. You sound like you know what's going on with each other. In fact, I've written it and underlined it many times. What do you owe that to? I mean, do you agree with that, or what's your take on the band as a whole?
I agree. I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly. It's just, I think part of it is we've known each other for so long. When we started the band, we were really young. We really didn't know how to play our instruments that well. We've grown as musicians together. We know each other really well, and a lot of it we'd like to attribute to chemistry, because we have this really great chemistry that just happens when we play together.
Can you touch on that, Ed?
I agree with that. It's really only just playing together and sort of that unsaid, unspoken anticipation of what your bandmates are going to do that just comes from doing it for so long.
Okay, well, what about working with Jerry Harrison again? What does he bring to the mix? I know it's not a new question that you're having to answer, but a very valid one.
He brought a lot more. He'd even say that he brought a lot more to the first record than he did this one. The main thing he brought to us in Mental Jewelry was arrangement, putting the songs together and making them like ready for to be as powerful as they could be on a record. And he understands that just because he's made plenty of them. And we took what we learned from him and with him on Mental Jewelry and sort of applied it to all our writing for Throwing Copper. And so once we got to actually work with Jerry on this record, it was more or less, the songs were more or less finished.
What's the significance of Throwing Copper?
it's
I mean, I know you guys are from Pennsylvania.
it has no significance in as far as its conception. We didn't want a name that I didn't think a name that we thought about to sort of wrap up the songs didn't seem right. So we just sort of jostled words around.
We were looking for something that sounded, whatever, like really cool together or something. And Throwing Copper is almost kind of funny in a way because the way it came about was we were in New York playing shows with Tony Bennett, doing these Christmas acoustic shows with Tony Bennett, and Pat and Ed decided to go out and buy BB guns, and they're shooting at cans, and Ed came in and was like, yeah, we were out there throwing copper, and we were like, hey, that could be a cool name, and plus it was coming down to the wire, we were like, we need a title, we've been thinking about it for a long time.
That was like the last day we could have come up with a name, so.
And there's some kid out there who's about like 16 looking at the album, or is going to get the album because it's not released yet, but by the time they hear this interview, it will be going, Throwing Copper, man. I miss it. It must mean, they have like these ideas.
Yeah.
And yet it was just, you were just throwing copper.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, and I thought about the song Waitress on the record, which is like about dropping change for someone, and so I thought that, well, that might be construed as that, but that came after the fact.
True, got it. Actually, I even started. I don't think they'd ever released "Waitress" as a single, but it was one of my favorite tracks on the record. I started it.
Yeah.
And speaking of releasing of a single, since I'm not going to be hanging out with you guys like on tour for the next year, after Selling the Drama, have you heard from the higher ups or
nothing definite as far as the second single? I mean, we all have we have feelings.
Okay,
I think I Alone should be a single.
Yeah.
Okay, well let's talk. Well, I Alone very easily could be a single. So. Can we talk about that track? Can we start off?
Yeah, the track to me lyrically is like really personal. It's one of the more personal songs we've ever written, and it's about being alone. Alone not in a bad way or negative way. Alone in loving someone, or alone just in life, and just the reality of that, I guess.
Did some of these feelings come around because I've talked to many bands before. Life on the road is not necessarily as what it's cracked up to be.
Well, no, we didn't really spend much time on the road, but our lives did change pretty dramatically with the success of Mental Jewelry and wanting to put together this record and make it great. I don't think anything career-oriented sort of contributed to any like devastation in our lives, but because we're generally pretty happy with what we do.
Yeah.
You're generally pretty happy, but I read a couple of clippings and they do talk about your lyrics as being somewhat dark and melancholic, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as opposed to dark. Is that a fair assumption? I mean,
I think more so on the last record than this one. I can't help it. It's just this is the way they come out. It's just, I think they're more. I don't know if melancholic is right, but I think that to me they're serious, but in a good way, not like in a dogmatic or preachy sort of way.
I don't know. What about Chad? Do you have a particular song that you feel a little closer to that you think possibly could make it as a single?
Well, most of us are in agreement with I Alone. We really love that song. Other songs that I like on the album are, I like White Discussion a lot, and I like Stage a lot, and these are just because these are kind of like growth songs for the band. They're kind of different from what we've done before, and like Lightning Crashes.
Different from what you mean?
Different from, it's just a different kind of writing style that we've adopted or come into.
Kind of like piecemeal for everyone, or...
No, I think it's just the sound.
Yeah.
I think the sound of it.
Yeah, it's the way it flows and the sound of, because those are songs that Ed plays guitar in, and they build and they just have a new.
I think we rock
chapter
harder
in
than
the
we
band.
used to.
Yeah, we rock.
Yeah, before you came in, we were talking about like your arrangements. Like almost every song, like I dig. We both, Chad and I, dig this aspect of your music, and your music obviously is that it builds every single time. It builds to like this frenzy. Like
Yeah, but then we tried to put songs in there that didn't do that too, you know. So there's a juxtaposition between all of them.
Yeah, it's like Stage is like intense from beginning to
And
end.
All Over You and Top are all very, you know.
And TBD is mostly kind of mellow, except for that part where it gets kind of loud.
But the ones that build, like the Damn It Otter Creek and Lightning Crashes, is something we just really like to do.
What about as far as vocally? Your vocals, I mean, they definitely keep the album together. We know it's live. Can you harp a little bit, or not harp, but talk about vocally your baritone voice?
I think that the way this record's mixed is much better than the first one, in the sense that the soundscape of the band is different, and it's like it all sounds like the layers and the way everything sits is really cool. Vocally, I haven't done anything different as far as stylings or anything.
Not eating more cauliflower or anything?
Nope.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I detected, you know, that cauliflower. No? Okay.
Nope.
All right. You just never know. That's why I have to ask these things.
That's cool.
Another thing I have to ask is, because this is our company's first interview with you guys, is there any way you could help us out and give us a little bio of where you're from? I mean, I kind of know where you're from, but it doesn't make a difference if I tell you.
Right.
You want like a little history? Or?
Yeah, like maybe start off that you're from York and.
Yeah. From York, Pennsylvania. It's pretty industrial town. Not a lot to do there.
Started when we were 14.
Yeah.
In middle school, and
started playing covers, you know, playing wherever we could, dances and parties and that kind of stuff. And I guess
we still play a lot of dances and parties and discos.
Yeah.
We just make a lot more money now than we used to.
But we were in about 10th or 11th grade. We wrote our first original and kept writing and just amassing songs.
But when you started, you weren't live.
No, when we first started, our name was First Aid.
First Aid, and then at one point we were Paisley Blues, and then another point we were Public Affection,
Yeah.
Club Fungus, and Body Odor Boys, and then we came up with Live.
You settled on Live.
And Live is worse by far than all those names.
Well, no, you gotta wonder with a band. I remember when I first got like the advanced cassette Live in my office a long time ago. Not this one. I'm talking, first one. With a band like Live, you go, well, I want to see you live.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You're gonna have this name. I mean, what does the name signify? I mean,
What's funny is it really doesn't signify anything. It was just a name. It was a word that we liked. It was really nondescript, and we just kind of picked it out of a hat. You know, it's kind of like that.
Beats Public Affection. That's
Yeah,
it does.
That's why we. That's why we
big
got
one.
rid of Public Affection.
Well, so but when you guys formed at like 14 and you're playing, because I was in a band when I was little, I mean, were you actually thinking that, hey, or was it a way to get, women? You're not here right now. Was it a way, because a lot of times, and people admit it, they first started playing instruments. It was a way to get women.
It was just a way to get attention.
Attention, I think, is
more so than women. And me personally, I always felt really at home playing with these guys and playing the drums, and I thought, maybe if everything went right, we could do this for a while.
Do you think for a living, maybe even?
Sure.
Sometimes, yeah.
Another thing is, it's somewhat surprising, is that when you start a band that young, usually by the time you're your age right now, which you're still considered young in this industry, that something has happened since then. You wouldn't still be together. Yeah, you still are. What do you owe it to? I mean, I know you guys are very close, but I mean, have you known each other all your lives, or? Pretty much.
Chad and Ed went to elementary school together, and we all met each other basically in like 6th grade and started the band in 8th grade. And I attribute a lot of it to, growing together and, just maintaining a good relationship between everybody. And I was saying earlier to another interviewer that we know everyone's breaking point for, anger. So we don't ever push anyone past that, because that's one thing.
We used to do that shit, though.
We used to, yeah. I mean, we have our disagreements, but we
don't fist fight anymore.
That happened a couple
some
times.
good songs, so when you get a good fist fight out.
Sure.
Yeah. But it's just about understanding each other, I think.
What's been the biggest surprise since you've had a record deal, since you've had success on your first record? Is there anything like when you're 14 and you're sitting there dreaming that you're going to be the next thing? Is there anything that's been surprising since you've been doing this now, actually for a living?
I think
We haven't really. There's a lot of stuff that we haven't done yet that I think is going to be the most amazing stuff. We just played stadiums for the first time in Brazil in January. That was pretty mind blowing.
Yeah.
What were you doing there?
We were playing the Hollywood Rock Festival, which is Hollywood Cigarettes, just like a huge cigarette company down there, and they have a big gala every year.
Big 3-day festival.
Yeah.
And what was it like getting up? I mean,
It
you
was
know,
great.
It was
Very
fun.
exhilarating.
It was different. I don't know if the shows were. I don't even remember what songs we played.
It'll be different.
It was just so bizarre, but
It'll
it was
be different
fun.
if we could do it and have it be our own crowd.
Yeah.
what is it? I mean, what is it like to see a live show? I mean, I have never seen a live show.
Well, hopefully it's very energetic, and
I think that's what people mainly say
have
is
a
that.
good time.
I think the main thing people say is that we have a lot of energy on stage and performing.
Well, you know, with even a song like "Selling the Drama," I mean, I read about your take on it and how it's going and how you either bond with your audience. I mean, would that be a fair assumption? Outside of selling the drama, I'm just saying.
I think selling the drama is sort of about that bond, or the attempt at that bond, and the sort of shortcomings that are inherent with it, and it was just something I wanted to say, not necessarily because I want someone to think a certain way about it. It's just kind of a strange situation, and it's a strange song. So.
What about as far as the future? What's going to happen? What would you like to see happen? It's kind of like my last question, like a wrap up. Like, what would you like to see happen? Not necessarily in the world. Bear in mind, you know.
I'd like to see us make a lot more records. I'd like to see us just expand and have fun, and that's about it.
Do a big reunion tour, more 40, make $65 million.
And we're just setting this all up to do our reunion tour.
Yeah, but you know, when you're 40, 65 million, you know, you might be middle of the road.
That's true.
That might be middle class. We'll have to.
I just quoted that because that's what I heard Rolling Stone got paid to step on the bus for their last tour. So.
That's the only reason we're doing it is so that we can have a reunion tour, make money.